Our next guest was one of the many NHS staff who worked tirelessly on the front line throughout the pandemic. So when Eileen Allen discovered that a motorhome of her dreams on eBay last month, she absolutely loved it. She thought she'd finally be able to treat her family to a much-needed holiday.
But sadly, things weren't as they seemed, as the advert Eileen saw was actually part of a sophisticated scam designed to steal thousands of pounds from Eileen's bank account.
After losing money to the scam, Eileen is now on a mission to warn others. She's here today to share her story alongside our scam expert, Jenny Radcliffe. Welcome to both of you. I mean, it's absolutely devastating when you read this story, but let's just go back in time because you'd been working so hard and you just wanted to treat your family to a holiday so they didn't have to spend too much money. They could go to a motorhome and enjoy a holiday.
Yeah, that's right. So, I found this motorhome on eBay.
Yeah.
And I messaged them, and they didn't reply. So I rang the mobile number that they'd given. So I said, would you take 26,000? So she said, well, actually, I've got a dealer that's offered me that, but I'd much sooner it go to a family where they can enjoy it because I've lost my husband. I'm 78 years old. I'd sooner a family have it enjoy it. The only thing is, the dealer, as I said, he'd give me a deposit, so I'm going to go with the dealer. So she left you, and then she said, but really, as I say, I'd sooner you, a family, have it. So if you can offer me the 30% deposits, then, I'll go with you, because it's sooner, because, as I say, I've lost my husband, we can't use it anymore. I bought it off my neighbour. So I paid the 7,800. They told me where it was. They sent me an email as a receipt. There's another girl involved, Jacqueline Crawford, who we've met through the actual owner of the motorhome, who's very kindly Brits, who put us in connection. Jacqueline Crawford. She lives in Northern Ireland.
So who is she? Did she get scammed as well?
In the same time I got scammed, she was being scammed by the same people.
Oh.
The thing is, I read this, Eileen, last night, and the thing that struck me was this. You used to read some scams and you go, oh, how did you walk into that? It was so sophisticated, but also so simple that you can see how you went on eBay to make a genuine purchase. So is that where the scam came from? The fact that they didn't reply to you, you then got in touch with them direct, and that's where the scamming can... So that's their plan all along, right?
Yes. So they're using mobile numbers so you can contact them out of sight. So that's one of the main things. But since it happened, I paid 7,800. She sent me a receipt. She told me where it was being stored. The reason why we couldn't go and see it, because she was an old woman. Her son, George, through his work pattern, he couldn't let us see it. She told where she lived, it was registered with 3 people. So she mentioned her daughter, her son, George, and herself. So her husband had died.
So she's got this elaborate story.
She didn't stall in any of the conversation. Anything I asked, I even said to her at one point, can I bring the money up to you rather than give you...
What did she say?
She said, oh, love, I'm 78 years old. I can't possibly have all that much money. And when you think about an old woman, really...
They like cash, don't they?
Really, it's money laundering. That's the reason why she didn't want me to bring the money up. Right. She doesn't want that to happen.
I mean, you can see the tentacles of this, how much bigger it was than just this one incident, and how well rehearsed they were. They were ready with anything that Eileen had to say, probably because they've done this scam hundreds of times and practiced it dozens of times, and when it's fallen down and someone said an objection, now they know what to say. Yeah. So this script is going to catch someone sooner or later.
So you actually handed over more money after that as well?
So on the Friday, she rang me up crying at 9:30. Now, remember, Jacqueline's in the background in Northern Ireland. Apparently, she rang her up at 9 o'clock in the morning, crying. So pretend that she was crying, visualise her she's crying all the time, and she's done this to Jacqueline. So she's got Jacqueline to pay a further 5,500. Yes. And now she's ringing me. So she's been crying an awful lot through the night. And then she says, the thing is, because it was slow, the money going through, I was ripped off by the gypsies, a couple of years ago when I was selling the further motorhome. So she said, and I'm so frightened.
That's what she said?
Yeah, this is what she's saying to me. So I'm so frightened, I'm going to give you the money back. So send me your bank details, I'm going to give you your money back. Now, that was upsetting because all my little grandkids, I've got 5 grandchildren, 3 grandchildren and 5 grandchildren, they were all excited.
About this motorhome?
Jenny, and I visualised them sitting in the motorhome.
that is extraordinary level of confidence, isn't it? To say, I'm going to give you the money back, which then puts the onus on.
It's a reverse psychology, right? You know, it's trying to say, oh, that's why they say I'm worried about being scammed, because why would they say that if they were a scammer?
Yeah.
And also introducing all of this emotion into the equation. You know, she's crying, she's getting people to check if Eileen's genuine. All of that stuff is just adding credibility to her.
Yeah.
And as I say, it sort of mirrors Eileen's own circumstances, you know, saying it's to do with family and she's a bit worried and all that due diligence. She's trying to mirror, to lower your guard, you know, your shield about these things.
So what? When did you first get a whiff of this? This is genuine.
So then she said, but if you can prove that the money will go through faster, because when I sold the motorhome and lost it a few years ago, she said the gypsies bought it. This is what she told me.
Once again, her words, yeah.
Yeah, this is her word, yeah. The gypsies bought it off me.
I don't like the fact that she's even saying that word.
Exactly,
I don't like it.
Yeah, so the gypsies bought it off me. She said, but they said it'll take 2 hours to reach your bank accounts, which was her bank account, and it didn't reach my bank account. And when I got in touch with the police turned around and said, it's a civil matter, so it's nothing to do with us. So remember, she's crying to me, telling me all this story. And then a son came on, George, but to Jacqueline, do you remember in Northern Ireland, Jacqueline, George was the dead husband.
I'm exhausted.
Exactly.
Oh, gosh.
But think how you
can't believe this.
So I paid 2,200.
Oh, no,
but Jacqueline then paid the 5,500. So at the same time, she rang Jacqueline first thing, then me.
Did you get the money back at all?
I haven't got all of it back, no.
When did you realise this was happening?
So she carried on contacting me throughout the day, and then we went to look for a field where we were going to put it. It was in a farm, actually, in Greasby Biles. And then a little bit later on, I said, somebody was mentioning about a tracker. She told me who to keep the insurance with the tracker. She knew everything, who the insurance I should have. And then she said, by the way, Eileen, that money never went into the Nationwide accounts.
So you then check your account.
So I checked
the penny
it.
drop there.
So I checked the Nationwide. But actually, while I was on the phone to the Nationwide, the woman rang me. So I said to the Nationwide, will you stay on hold while I'm speaking to her? Because, you know, it's I don't know whether something's going on here. And he said, yeah, OK. So I spoke to the woman and then spoke to Nationwide, and they said, yes, the money definitely went. It went at, I think it was around 1-ish.
That was the moment.
And then I realised, so I messaged her. I rang her then back and I said, I'll give you my bank details. Can you please transfer the money back to me? And that was the end of it.
Yeah, you never heard from her again.
No.
Jenny, firstly, can the police get involved here or not?
Well, it depends. The response for all these things is varied, whether that's from the apps or from law enforcement, for anyone else. It depends on the circumstances. What you have to understand is how many of these things are going through. You know, law enforcement, drinking from a fire hose, how can you possibly keep track of them all? So there's priorities, and it depends on the traceability. And that's why it's important to stay on the app. Right?
So in other words, so what can people watching this that are kind of seeing this story, and it's a very normal thing that Eileen did, what should they do to guard against this?
So, first of all, research that listing, right? Look at the history. How long's it been on there? Is it on anywhere else? Do what we call a reverse image search on a search engine. So, you know the way you can look up any words? You can look up images.
I didn't know you could do that.
You can cut and paste an image into a search engine and it will look for that image, and that will show you if it's used anywhere else.
That's brilliant.
You can also check for motor vehicles. You can check history. There are lots of sites with history checks for cars and motor vehicles. For about £10, £15, you might be able to find some details of that. Check out the seller. Do they sell much? Have they got a history? What's their feedback like? But most of all, if it's too good to be true, if it's a great bargain, stop, don't react in the moment, pull back, talk to a few people and double check. Don't move any money off the app, right? Because what happens is, if something like this happens to Eileen, you want that app in your corner. And if you move off, traceability is more difficult, and they can kind of decide whether or not they're going to really back you up, even if morally they always should, you know? Well,
a spokesperson from eBay did get in touch. We strongly recommend that anyone buying a vehicle on eBay view it in person before transferring any money. In the very rare instance that one of our users is a victim of a scam, we advise them to report it immediately to the local police force, Action Fraud and eBay. In this case, we can confirm we have taken action against the seller. Barclays got in touch, and a spokesperson Alison said to them, "We have every sympathy with our customer who has been the victim of an online purchase scam. We explained the payment would be cancelled and urged them not to proceed with further payments unless the vehicle had been viewed in person. Regrettably, our customer did not heed the advice given and chose to proceed making another payment the same day." That's what happened.
I didn't make another payment the same day. I made it the next day when she rang up crying.
Yeah.
So the point being, as Jenny said, you know, you've got to... Don't listen to them when they put an email down. The actual... eBay actually knew this was a scam.
Yeah.
They'd been informed on the 27th at 9 o'clock in the morning that by the real owner, Brits, who kindly put me and Jackie together, and they said, this is a scam. Somebody's going to lose the money. Please remove it. And it was not removed till the next day when I reported it
I think that
at 10:30.
Of course.
eBay need to take responsibility because me and Jacqueline, we've become eBay detectives.
Eileen, you've helped so many people by just coming on this show today. So many people who have seen this and it's a cautionary tale. Yeah. So thank you for doing that, Eileen. And
thanks, Jenny.
Could I just say thank you? Hello to M1, everyone in M1 and patients and staff.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Eileen.